Okay, that's much better. Got it up, got it running. Okay, so thought I would go through yesterday's selections first. So I've got Betfair up there, but let's jump into the spreadsheet. And let's have a look at how yesterday performed, because it's a good indication of how things are going. So yesterday we had a total of 23 lays that actually ran, and we ended up making $7.84 off the risking $30. So not bad for a Saturday. Over the few meetings that we had there were quite a few long shots that did get up yesterday. Quite a few of them were ones that we looked at and then we decided to not take. So that's always a good thing, because it means we're excluding those ones that can actually win. That brings our running total now up to $18.73, assuming that you're paying a commission rate of 7%, which is quite high. Most people would be paying less than that over those types of meetings. Today I don't have as many selections in there, the main reason being there isn't much that I could find. There's not many horses running around at Pakenham. The other places, just I could not find races that were suitable to run. They were all fairly competitive, and there were lots and lots of chances. So I decided to stay away from most of the races. But I have got another thing that I'm looking at today that might be a little bit more interesting. But let's have a look at the selections for today. I've basically done Pakenham, Sunshine Coast, Hawkesbury and Grafton. I didn't do Port Augusta. I just didn't get a chance to do it. So they're the ones that I'm going to run with today, because I decided to actually have a bit of play around with something else and just see how it's performing. But you've got the selections there. So we've got a total of, how many selections? We got 10 selections for today. Most of those are fairly high. I'm willing to go to $1,000 on a couple of them, and most of them are 500 plus. So don't expect to make much out of the $30 risk today, but you never know. Sometimes horses just go off at crazy odds compared to what they should. There was one horse yesterday that I was laying around $400. I think it was at Rosehill, and it started to crash with about 30 seconds to go, and it crashed in all the way to about $85, $86. And went on to lead the race for most of the race, but then fell away in the last 200 metres. So just the 10 selections for today. We are currently sitting on 100% strike rate on the lays. Keep in mind they are lays, so you do need to get on Betfair to lay them. But today I'm going to look at another kind of strategy just to follow, because I just like to follow some interesting things and just see if I can find any kind of edge in there that might be fun when you're just doing some fun betting. So I've got one around jockeys today that I'm going to have a bit of a look at. So what I've done is I've looked at a few meetings. So I've looked at Grafton, Pakenham and Port Augusta. I've only done the 3 meetings because that got me up to 100 selections. So this is one where you're going to get a fair bit of action. And I've taken the jockeys, which are essentially losing 35% on the dollar on the starting price. So all of the jockeys which are in the list here are basically not returning 65% or 65 cents for every dollar that you're betting. That should overcome the differences that are happening in on the exchange versus tab prices and things like that, because I'm not sure where Racing and Sports collects their figures from. So I've taken a 35% kind of cutoff point. And then I'm staking differently depending on how far they are off those off that 35%. So if they are at 35%, essentially I'm going to lay them for $1. And when I say $1 times whatever the odds are. So that's to win $1. If they're more, so for example, Ella Drew was only basically returning 51 cents on the dollar, so she was losing 49 cents on every dollar bet. So I've just scaled that up pretty much by 4.9 divided by 3.5, which is the 49 divided by the 35. But I've maxed it out at $1.50. So if they're losing essentially up past a 1.5 multiplier, I've left it at a 1.5 multiplier. So this gives us a bit of fun action just to monitor through the day. I likely will put these on, but at very low stakes. And when I say low stakes, probably 10 cents as the lay. So these will be like 14 cents, 11 cents, 12 cents, just to get a bit of a feel for today. And if it works, then next weekend I might just start doing it at the dollar. But it's always more interesting if you've at least got something on it, and it gives you a bit more of a feel for what's happening. Then paper trading. Paper trading's great to not lose money if you don't know you have an edge, but I'm fairly certain there'll be some kind of edge in here. And I'm looking to see how it goes. So there's a lot in here, and you're probably going to have to rewatch the video and pause it if you want to see all the selections. But Grafton has... what has Grafton got? Quite a few. It's got 44 selections. Compare that to what we had in the lays, where we had 3 selections, where I think they're going to lose. So these will be at all odds ranges, so it just makes it a little bit more fun. If I go have a look at Pakenham, Pakenham didn't have many horses running around today. There's a lot of scratchings. It's a lot of steeplechases. There's not many horses running at all. So Pakenham had 13, just a couple in each race, and it's not so much that the jockeys were doing quite well. It's just these are the ones that I could take out of that meeting. The last one, Port Augusta, had quite a few, so it's gone off the page. It's got a lot of selections, so I'm just leaving them there for a sec, but it ended up with 47 selections. So the idea is to have high turnover on some bad jockeys. Jockeys do make a bit of a difference to the what a horse can do. They can pick up a couple of lengths by taking the right path on the track, helping that horse get through the openings and pushing them along a bit quicker, and also just putting them in a spot where the horse is comfortable so that they don't burn the energy until they get into the straight. So jockeys can probably add up to 3-4 lengths, and if you look at most horses in a race, they're generally within those 3 to 4 lengths. So a good jockey can make a bit of a difference. So taking these really poor jockeys and trying to lay them could be profitable. But I'm not saying it is, so I'm just going to run it as an experiment and as a very simple strategy for fun. That way, if you were going to the races for the day, you could pretty much lay these ones before you went, and you'd have something to cheer on during the day. The other thing that I do want to mention is volume's kind of important when you do have an edge. So I do see a lot of people online saying, just take the best selections, just take a few sports each day that you know the best, and that you know you've got your best edge in. That's all well and good until you're limited, or you just don't have a big enough bankroll to be able to bet safely to make the amount of money you want. So volume is always something that professionals are looking for, and being able to take lots of selections rather than just a few definitely helps because you can stake smaller. And if you're still making a 2% turnover, a 2% turnover on 100 selections, bet at say $1 is, you've made $2. 2% bet on 5 selections and you've made 10 cents. So it can make it a lot safer by having the volume, and you'll keep your edge probably around where it should be. You'll get through variance a lot quicker, although you can still have some fairly bad variance runs. But volume is kind of the solution to bad variance, because 10, 20, 30, 40 bets, you could have terrible variance. Even in 1,000 bets, you can have very, very bad variance. You really want to be getting up those 10,000, 20, 30,000 bets. Now, I know I put in a lot of bets a day through my automation, and it can still have some horrible days, but and can swing, especially if you get the code wrong. But having a lot of bets, I can lose a couple of big bets in a day and still come out quite successful on the day. So I'm not just having 2, 3, 4 bets. I'm having 1,000, 2,000 bets a day. So I do bet worldwide and I do bet across lots of sports just to try to even out that variance. But as long as I've got the edge, it pretty much helps. I don't have too much today apart from going through those lays and just saying, look, yesterday turned out to be pretty good with the max odds ranges that we set. We didn't actually have to skip any of them. So all of them came in at lower odds than what I had rated them at, which is great. So pretty much 100% strike rate going on these lays. We've been doing them now for, 3 weeks. And we haven't lost one yet. Mind you, we still haven't won enough to cover one unit, and you would expect to have a fairly high strike rate when you're laying things upwards of 200, 140, even these at 20. You're only looking at like a 4% chance of winning. But we're not hitting any of those long shots that are winning, so I expect to go on a run, and even if I do hit one, you could expect runs of 2, 3, 400 selections winning in a row to the one that loses. Okay, I'll leave it there. The jockey thing will be quite interesting, and I'll give a bit of an update on that next week. But there's no questions in the chat, so I'm going to just finish it up there and have it pretty brief today. But if you've got any questions, feel free to add them to the comments or to jump on to a chat at any time that I'm live streaming, and I'll answer them as best as I can. I might try to get a few videos out in the week. This week, more about some of the things which are out there. So I'm having a bit of a look at the rubber band effect in the NBA and seeing if there's a bit of an edge there that you can get. And I'm also having a bit of a look at some of the advice that sports bettors are putting out there and how terrible it is. Because there's a lot of sports bettors out there that are just providing terrible, terrible advice, where they're suggesting that on a $10,000 bankroll, you can essentially do this professionally and give up your day job. And that's just not possible. If you think about it, even if you turned over the $10,000 once a month and you're making 2%, you're essentially making, $200 a month. That's just not realistic. Even if you turned it over 10 times, that's 100K of turnover for the month. You're still only making 2K, and that's just, again, still not realistic for someone to give up their job and do sports betting live. But I'll try to get a video out on that in the next coming weeks, if not this week. Okay, I'll leave it there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't know if you guys are following the lays, but if you do, make sure you Only lay what you can afford to lay. These can lose, and one will lose. Could be today, it could be tomorrow. They will. They do eventually lose, because if they're in the race, they can always. They've always got a chance, even if it's quite small. Okay, I'll leave it there. But thanks for watching. See you guys.